Yeah.
Yay! We're finally
I
connected.
know, right? Oh my goodness. It was quite an adventure you had today, huh?
Oh my gosh. Every week it seems like.
So what happened with the car? Is you said the oil was leaking out of it?
Yeah, I just driving to work. It's my junker car, the one I like to run around in to just put the
Uh-huh.
miles on. And yeah, going to work, it, was a little sluggish towards the end of my drive. And I go to back in and I'm like engulfed in like this exhaust cloud. I'm like, this isn't good. I can't see anything. This isn't normal. And
Yeah.
so I pop the hood and it's like oil coming out everywhere.
Oh no.
Stick and there's nothing in there. I'm like, okay. So my father-in-law brought me oil and I filled it up and I got home.
Nice, nice. Well, at least it doesn't seem like you were very far away. Like
No, about
so
18 miles.
okay. So I mean enough, but not too bad to where when he brought the oil it worked out.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. How's your grandmother doing?
Good. Good. She just had to have a blackhead removed the other day.
A what?
A
A
blackhead.
blackhead?
She
Like
has
like
this, she had, yeah,
oh,
she had this
okay.
little like pimple on her lip and it was driving her crazy. And she kept telling the doctor about it. And they're like, okay, well, we'll send you over. So she went in to have a blackhead removed.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
It's funny how like when you get to those ages, it's like the little things like matter so much, you know. It's yeah, it's interesting. Um yeah, I wanted to talk to you about like you being in the fitness industry and competing and everything like that. So I just kind of
Mhm.
wanted to start off like how did you get into, fitness in general?
I've always been athletic.
Mhm.
So, as you get older, you kind of quit doing certain things. And I actually had blown out my knee. I tore my ACL, my medial and lateral meniscus. And so um, I had recovered from that. I'm a therapist by trade. So coming back and knowing that I need to stay balanced, staying strong to make sure that that knee long term is going to hold up well. So as I was rehabbing and trying to work on those things, my friend was also jump starting her online personal training business, and she wanted to use me as a guinea pig. So I was like, sure, let's do it, and it just fit in line with my goals and what I like to do, and so that kind of kick started
Mhm.
everything, and that was be 4 years in March now when I started my whole journey.
So when you said that do like a fitness training thing, like what was it? What did it entail?
So she started me on just basically the typical bodybuilding regimen for contest prep.
Mm.
So we just started that whole heavy lifting, your 6 days a week split, the nutrition, everything. So I went in head on with all of it, basically from nothing. So I prepped in 12 weeks for my first show and had no clue what I was getting into.
Oh wow. So you actually competed from your like from that first initial
Yeah.
like weightlifting session. You did the prep and then you competed. How was that? How was that experience?
It was great. Obviously, I kept going with it. It just changed so much for me. Not just physically, but that mental piece. Um, Finding willpower and control was a huge part for me, and
Mhm.
it's taken over in other parts of my life too, not just in bodybuilding. So to see how things changed and developed as I went, it's like this is a no-brainer for me to keep going. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I did really well my first competition too, so I'm good at it. So let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. That always helps, right? Like when you do
Yeah,
well, that always gives you a little more motivation to keep going.
for sure. Yeah.
So, you said you blew out your knee and your ACL. I hear like people blowing out their ACLs and knees all the time. Thankfully, it's never happened to me. I've been involved in sports for a while. It's just
Yeah.
fortunate like that. But I hear people doing it all the time. Like it's how's it now? Like, are you completely recovered from it? You don't feel any kind of like
Yeah.
lagging? No.
No, I mean, the symmetry for me and my hamstring mass is a little bit lagging yet. And with my bodybuilding poses, you don't tend to see it as much.
Mhm.
But in certain positions, I can still see the difference.
Mhm.
And it has to do with the ACL graft that they did for me, they actually took graft from my hamstring. So that muscle group that they had taken is just, it shut down so much more than everything else. So it's been
Mm,
really hard to kind of hone in and target.
yeah,
Um,
but
but it's been great. It hasn't hurt. There's some clicking to it, which
like a robot, it just yeah.
I think we all experience as we get older
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, for sure. Like it's funny that you mentioned that. Just like you think you only think about it like with people, right? But I was messing with my dog, and she's about, I don't know, like 10 or 11 now, and like she moved her back leg, and it was like click, click. I was like, ah, poor baby, she's getting old,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
How did you? I don't know if you mentioned it. How did you blow out your ACL? Like, what were you doing?
I actually was at work, and I was going to the bathroom. So I don't
Oh,
have a really fun
so
story.
it wasn't like you were
No,
sprinting or like
I,
you
it
got
was it
tackled.
was like springtime, and the floors are still kind of, winter in Wisconsin, you still have
Hmm.
that gritty kind of sand residue, salt residue. And I had flats on, it was spring, so I'm like, I'm gonna wear my spring shoes, and
Hmm.
had to go to the bathroom and went in there and turned the corner quick,
Oh,
and my foot just slid out from underneath me, and went to catch myself, and there she went. So it was
oh
nothing
man.
fun.
Yeah, that's
I,
well.
I hobbled around work the rest of the day. I was like, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Did you know that you like tore it that bad, or?
I didn't know I tore it that bad. I knew I did something because I could feel it dislocate. I
Hmm.
mean, it made me nauseous. I had to lay down
Oh,
for a while. But I got up and walked it off. And I'm like, if I'm walking it off and finishing treating my patients for the day, I'm like, can't be that bad.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
It's
was
in.
wrong.
I yeah. There was a guy. He was a bodybuilder at my gym, and he decided to just like play on the monkey type of bars for where the CrossFit area was, and
Yeah.
just after training, nothing crazy, just jumped up on one, and then just immediately his bicep snapped, and he said he could feel it roll up into his arm. I was like, oh, I don't know if I if I
Yeah.
would
And it's
ever
like an
like.
immediate burp.
Yeah, that's so crazy that you could like feel that sensation. That's amazing to me that people are able to come back from that, and just modern medicine is able to like bring people back to almost like 100%, if not,
Mhm.
if not 100%.
Better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
better.
that knee to me is better now than my other knee,
Wow. Okay,
because
that's
it
that.
corrected. I have very hyper flexible joints. So I had a lot of hyperextension in that knee,
Mhm.
and it corrected that. Or now I have hyperextension in the other knee. So
So
it's
you
like,
basically had corrective surgery, just not
yeah,
intentionally.
yep,
I remember when Branch Warren, I don't know if you remember this, but he slipped on some ice or something, and or puddle or something like that, and tore his quad. And then he came back and won the Arnold, and that was in a very short time. Like,
short time.
so
Yeah.
that was an amazing thing too as well. So when did you get your pro card?
I got my pro card in 2018. So I'd actually competed two competitions back to back. Had won my pro card at the one, and then there weren't any pro options at the next one. So I competed again and won my pro card. So that was in figure.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, I did cross over and compete in physique as well as classic figure. So then I won my pro card in both of those too
Oh
in
wow. Okay. So you
2019.
competed in physique as well.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you carry that much muscle that you can compete in physique?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What about now? Do you see yourself competing there as well again?
In the future potentially, especially in the natural federation, I have enough mass, I have enough size, I can stand my ground. Definitely in the pro category there. Eventually being able to have enough mass and leanness to be able to step on stage like at the Arnold, would be an ultimate goal. And
Mhm.
your physique has to be
Up to
super
par.
on point. And
Yeah.
typically in that federation compared to natural, it's like your physique in that would be your figure, or your in natural would be your figure in
Right.
Arnold. So
Right. So originally from your first show, you competed in figure. You didn't do like bikini or anything like that. You didn't start off too small.
nope.
Just because naturally your body is like carries that much muscle.
Yeah, I didn't start off with that much muscle. If you
Mhm.
see my start off pictures, but I build really well.
Really
My
fast.
body takes high calories. I stayed very high even through my contest. My husband, what are you doing?
Hey.
She eats a lot and lifts really hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's what you need. That's
Okay. So yeah, I can keep my calorie intake really high,
Mhm.
and so I put on muscle really well.
Do you have trouble cutting? Like you sometimes people that are able to put on a lot of muscle, they tend to put on a lot of fat very fast as well. Are you in that category, or do you have you don't have
I'm
too much?
kind of borderline. I do put
Hmm.
on a good amount of fat, but um, depends on how hard I push my off season. So the last two off seasons, because I've done them so fast,
Hmm.
I increased my nutrition really quickly. So I put
Hmm.
on a little bit more muscle or muscle mass, but also more fat. And it took me a little bit more this time to try to get lean enough. And I still could have been leaner
Yeah.
coming in. And I think now that I have the mass where I need to, I'm not pushing it as hard as what I was because I don't have to pack on the muscle as much. I
Right.
have my size. So I think coming in now, I'll be starting prep at a much leaner
Hmm.
body mass.
Gotcha. So
Mhm.
you don't see yourself wanting to put on any more muscle like you are where you want to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think about this upcoming year as far as like the shows and everything with with the pandemic, going on and everything kind of being up for grabs? Do you think, or up in the air, I should say, not up for grabs?
Mhm.
Do you think we're going to have like a solid season this upcoming year, or this year? I guess we're already in 2021.
Yeah, I think as the shows are able to hold, I think there'll be a lot more that we'll be able to this year.
Mhm.
And I think their turnout is going to be big.
Mhm.
I know so many competitors that ended up losing their competition this last season,
Mhm.
and so there's so many that are gearing up for this year. So if
Yeah.
those shows hold, which I think a lot will, they're gonna be big shows.
Yeah, that's and did you end up going to the Olympia this
Yes,
last year? You did, and
yeah.
did you? And I apologize if I didn't catch it competitively or as an audience member.
Competitively. I did the Natural Olympia
Mm-hmm.
and I competed in the classic figure and the figure. And I took first in classic figure and second in the figure
Oh,
open pro.
awesome, awesome, great. So
Mhm.
how did you like that show? It was the first time, right, with the new ownership of the Olympia. How did you feel about the show? Like, well done. Not, could you have done something better?
Show was great. I didn't have any issues. I mean,
Mhm.
venues were different, but everything was great.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching it on pay-per-view, and I mean it looked phenomenal. Like it was legitimate, like everything looked, how bodybuilding is always kind of like a niche sport, where sometimes you'll get like a link from bodybuilding.com or something like that. The
Mhm,
visual wasn't
mhm.
that great. Now with it being on pay-per-view, it was, yeah, you had to pay a little money, but I
Yeah,
mean,
you're talking Olympia. I'm talking natural Olympia.
oh, okay.
Those are
My
two,
apologies.
yeah,
My
those are two different
apologies.
shows. Yeah, when you
Did
started saying the pay-per-view, I'm like, oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Did you
But that one too, I've heard a lot of competitors talk about the Olympia down
mhm.
in Florida. I know one of the photographers that was down there too, and everybody had a great time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you didn't catch that one, I assume. You didn't get to watch it.
I only caught bits and parts.
Mhm.
So I know Sid won the overall figure again
Mhm.
this year. She's just phenomenal.
Mhm.
So
Do you think
I mean
anybody
that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah, of course. Do you think anybody will be competitive with her these upcoming years? Because she seems to have
I
like taken it and kind of ran with it.
uh-huh. She's gonna be solid, I think, for a couple more years before
Yeah.
anybody catches up.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely think that. Did you hear about Shanique Grant retiring?
No,
Yes,
she
yes. So
is,
she
huh?
retired and
Okay.
from physique. So um
Yeah.
apparently she I guess she said that she wanted to have like a family, so she's taking off. So now that
Okay.
opens
She's
up,
phenomenal too.
yeah, that opens up the division wide open,
Sure.
so that'll be interesting. So what are your upcoming plans? Like, do you have like a show that you're specifically, targeting?
Not right now.
Mhm.
I was going to take a little time off for a little more life. A lot of the stuff that we wanted to do last year, was canceled from COVID. So there's just a lot of things that my husband and I want to do. It's
Yeah.
hard to go to, like, we're going to Mexico here on Sunday, so it's hard to stay and prep in an all-inclusive resort.
Oh, of course,
You
of
got to take
course,
advantage of that.
of course.
So, I'm definitely, this year I do have a couple, I'm doing some posing for some of the shows,
Hmm.
just for guest posing.
Hmm.
So I'll be lean, I'll be right in grasp of stage ready.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of just letting the year kind of take its course and see. Like I said, I wasn't planning on competing this year, but with where I'm at and depending on what happens with the rest of the summer, I may end up stepping on stage the end of this fall.
Do you, so you're going to be like more in striking distance? Would you say,
Mhm.
like, what is your idea of striking distance? Do you think like within a few weeks that you'll be stage ready? Like if you decide, I want to compete in this show, whatever.
I'd be able to prep in about 10 weeks pretty
10
easily.
weeks. Okay. So
Yeah.
you will still need like a couple of months to get there.
Mhm. Yep.
Gotcha. Do you,
Yeah, because I'm, like I said, I keep my nutrition pretty high, and for sanity, I do still always through prep, I always have a treat meal once a week. I
yeah,
never take it out. I never have. So that usually extends me out a little bit longer, but I
sure.
prefer that.
Sure.
So.
I was, trying to drop a little weight here upcoming for summer. And I was thinking to myself, oh, like looking at myself, I was like, I'm not dropping enough, like it seems like it's going slow. But then I had to think, I was like, but I have the time. I don't need to crash, like crash diet. So like I've got
Yeah,
plenty of time.
don't crash diet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And always watching other things other than just weight.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, that
Yes.
too. That too.
Weight is not always the key.
Speaking of weight, do you monitor your weight? Like, do you see like what you are on stage?
Yeah. Yeah. I usually monitor all my weight, my measurements, my body fat percentage, all the way through. So that way I can see what I'm trending.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you, and it's always a little tricky asking women about their weight, but I figured since we're in that field of conversation, what do you step on stage on usually?
I'm usually about 123 on
Okay.
stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that, and so like, when, as you're monitoring, you're like, okay, well, I'm getting closer to that weight, so I know that I'm like getting, in shape. Is that kind of how you do it?
I usually do caliper body fat percentage
Okay.
checks. So that's usually what I watch more, just because I do typically hit a weight, usually around like 132 to 136. I kind of stay in there for a really long time. And that can be such a mind F, and it's like, I'm not changing. But when you check that body fat pinch, it's like, okay, these are trending down. So that's typically what I watch more than the actual scale number, because I know that every time I'm going into off season, my stage weight is going to be higher and higher because I'm putting on lean mass.
Sure.
My first time stepping on stage, I was 113 pounds.
Oh wow! So you've put in. You said 123. So you've put
123. So from
10
my
pounds
first
of
show to
muscle.
my last show, it's been 10 pounds heavier.
Yeah, and that's tough to do. For people that are listening that don't understand,
Yeah.
for a female to put on 10 pounds of muscle is extremely difficult, and that's, it's interesting people, because people think that, like, sometimes at the gym or wherever, people will be like, oh, I'm up so much weight, and it's like, yes, you're up that weight, but you're not lean, so how much of that is really muscle? So true lean muscle is not easy to come by. So since we're talking about cheat meals here a few seconds ago, what is
Yeah.
your cheat meal? Like what is it that you love if you like had to pick one cheat meal that you absolutely desire?
Most of the time it's pizza.
I was just talking to my wife. I was like, we need to order pizza, but we got snowed in and I don't think anybody is delivering.
Oh no.
Did you how's your weather guys there? Did you get snowed in as well?
It's been cold. We
Mhm.
were 30 below 2 mornings ago.
Oh,
So
30
30
below.
below. Yeah.
Like, well, I'm sorry, what, negative 30? Is that what you were talking?
Yeah.
That
And that
that
was without the wind chill. That was the true temperature.
and see, we're over here in Nashville complaining about like 20 degrees. And that seems cold, right?
It was so cold. So
That's
today it got up to 20 and it's a 50-degree change and it
yeah,
felt comfortable outside, 20 degrees. And it's like, this isn't normal.
yeah. Well, yeah, I guess because you're so used to that low temperature,
Mhm.
and then when it goes up, even though it's cold, you're like, ah, it's like
It's so good.
it's so warm. I'm ready to take off my hoodie and everything. That's funny.
Yep.
So, as far as like your training goes, how is your like what is your style of training? Everybody's kind of got their own style, volume, whatever. Like, how do you train? How do you prep for shows and so forth?
I am definitely a 6-day split. Depends on what I'm seeing I need to work on. Typically, and what I've focused on really hard the last few years has been my legs. So I usually do a split of quad hamstring focus, and I just work on hypertrophy all day
Mhm.
long. I am just AMRAPs, supersets, circuits, anything I can do to just burn the crap out of my muscles. If I'm not failing by the end of my sets, I'm not doing enough weight or enough reps.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So I'm not your typical bodybuilder, I guess. Your old school methods,
Hmm.
and they stand true. You can do old school standard bodybuilding training all day long, and you're gonna see progress. I'm not that way. I like to be creative. I like to change up my workouts. I'm a therapist by trade, so I know my muscle groups. I know how to target areas differently with different exercises.
Hmm.
So I do a good mix of, compound movements versus isolation movements. And I know there's a lot of theories out there on what people think works and doesn't work. And it's like,
Sure.
I'm my own guinea pig.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I used to have I used to be involved in combat sports in another life, and my wrestling coach would always say like he will teach a move a certain way, but if somebody did it in a match in a different way and it worked, he said you can't argue with success, right? So it's
Yes,
like that
exactly.
always stuck with me. It's like somebody might
Mhm.
not be doing it the way it's appropriate to do it, but if it
Yes.
works, then how can you argue with that,
How
right?
can you argue with it? And I see people all the time, especially on social media, just going crazy, picking on people for doing things a certain way. And it's like, well, if it's working for them,
All
if
right.
it's their goal, and that's a big thing I see in the bodybuilding community, that it's like, if you're not doing it this way, you're not dedicated enough. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's different per person what their goal is. Their goal might be completely different than a bodybuilder goal.
Sure, sure,
So
sure. And it's
yes,
it's the world, the world of fitness is not just for, bodybuilders and competitors. There's a whole huge market there
huge market.
of people that don't compete, that just want to,
Hmm.
that have other goals.
Yeah.
So and the one thing I've noticed in bodybuilding, it's like people that have been in it for a long time, especially competitive, they feel like they're professors, right? Like they feel like they like know, like they're somehow qualified, and it's
Yeah.
or more qualified than the next person, to
Right.
give that advice. And while they might have some good points, it's like there's a lot of ways to get to to a result. So
Exactly.
for sure.
Exactly.
All right. So when you do these movements and you in hypertrophy, are you doing a heavier like are these heavier weights? Or are these
Yeah,
just
I'm doing pretty heavy weight.
Mhm.
I do a lot of ladders, so I'll start, a moderate weight, and I would just keep climbing as much as I can until I get to like 3-4 reps of failure.
Gotcha.
So that's typically my method. One workout a week, I'll choose, okay, deadlifts today. I'm gonna climb this sucker as high as I can go.
I see. So you will do just deadlifts, and then you would just cascade up and down or whatever the weight. Gotcha.
Yep.
So like,
And
what
then,
did
of
you
course,
train today?
today I did legs. I did quad focus leg day. So I started off with barbell front squats into goblet squats. So I had a heavier load to a lighter load, and then into body weight pistol squats. So I'll do that a lot with my supersets and circuits, that I go heavy load, little less load, body weight, and then maybe throw in an ab exercise so that I can just circle right back to the next one again. That way that muscle groups get a little bit of rest with the ab exercise at the end.
Yeah.
And I'm still keeping my heart rate up. I'm
Right.
still moving, and I go right back into the next round of that circuit. So I don't do a lot of cardio because of that method of training. I found that that's just worked for me, being able to keep my heart rate up.
So you kind of combine cardio and weight training at once. You just don't let yourself. My wife does that a lot. She just fast pace. All the weights are like, everything's fast paced. So she's kind of doing cardio at the same time.
Yep.
So interesting. So so you go to a physical gym? Like, there's a physical gym that's open in your area.
Yeah.
Did you ever run into a situation where your gym was closed?
Yes, and that's how I ended up with this space.
Okay. Awesome. I was trying to figure out what that was in the background, but like, because I was focusing on you, I couldn't tell, but yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's my gym. I've got all my
Your
awards and
equipment.
stuff.
Yeah, nice. There you go.
Up in
There
here.
you go. That's a nice little space. I've got mine in my
Yeah.
garage, so it's freezing there now.
This is
Oh, even better.
my rack, and then I got a little cardio there.
Beautiful.
And then my poles here I have set up with bands, so they're like a pulley system.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That looks good.
COVID hit. Our gyms did close down. And that was when I was supposed to go to Mexico. 3 days before we were supposed to leave, COVID shut everything down, so we couldn't go. So we kept our week planned off, and we tore this. There used to be a wall right here. And we tore down a wall and made one big open space from 2 rooms, and put in a gym, put in rubber flooring, did all of that week. We were supposed to be in Cancun. So I have this space at home. I have the gym locally where I work. And then I do the manufacturer, Dynamic Fitness and Strength, that makes my squat rack. They let me use their showrooms. So I have
awesome.
That Planet Fitness. Like I have like 5 gyms several, that I can get to.
Nice. Yeah, well, it's smart to build one in your home, because you never know which way things are gonna go. And it's I decided, like, we were talking, we're like, we need to have something enough at the house where if something happens, we can still exercise at the level that we are used to at the gym, because it's and that requires preparation, and requires machines, it requires free weights, so we just kind of got into it. The only problem is ours is in the garage, and it's so cold there right now.
So cold right now. I can't put mine in the garage now.
No, definitely not if you're hitting like negative
30 below.
Yeah. That's terrible. Your machines would just freeze. Like, you wouldn't be able to use them.
I'd be stuck to it.
That's hilarious. So what's funny is I was doing deadlifts yesterday, and it's like the bar was so cold. Like, every time I do a set, my hands would be freezing. But anyways, so at this point, you said that you're not like shooting for a show, but you will be close enough where you can make that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, that's cool. Well, I'm glad that we were able to get a chat in. I know that you've got a very busy schedule. So.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Well, and especially, like I said, our trip we were supposed to take last year, we're leaving this year now. We're leaving on Sunday. So like these last few weeks, I've just been cramming everything in, trying to get client check-ins in. And I met with a bunch of people. I'm going to do some posing sessions on Friday, and just get everybody in taken care of before I leave, because and I can disconnect my brain for a little while.
Yeah, that's great. I was gonna actually, there's a couple of points I did want to talk to you about, and I'm glad you
Yeah.
reminded me. So you said you're doing some client check-ins. Do
Mhm.
you do training as well?
Yeah. After I won my pro card, that was like my goal for myself. If I won my pro card, I was in and competed at the Olympia. I was going to get my certified personal training,
Hmm.
and so I did that. And I've been, starting off with just general nutrition, general weight loss clients, and then had several people reach out about contest prep. So I do have a handful of contest prep clients as well.
Hmm.
So just something fun on the side that we have a good time doing together. Everybody loves
Yeah,
the team atmosphere of having a few people hitting the same shows all at one time. And so
yeah.
yeah, it's been a fun
Awesome.
little adventure adding that in.
What do you enjoy more, the lifestyle clients or the competition clients?
I think I enjoy the competition clients the most.
Hmm.
They're a little bit more intense, obviously, but they're definitely, very dedicated. They know the routine, unless they're brand new. I
Hmm.
typically try to avoid taking anybody brand new because I typically do everything online for the most part.
Hmm.
So if there's somebody new and they're not local and can't meet with me, I like, you want to go somewhere local where you can be
Right.
one-on-one. So, but they really stick to it. And it seems
Yeah.
like the lifestyle folks kind of get a little more discouraged
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
just they don't seem as dedicated. So
Sure. Yeah,
that's,
because well, everybody's got to start somewhere. Sometimes when when
yep.
you're just starting out, it's tough,
It's
it's
tough. It's
yeah.
hard to make the nutrition changes. That's the
Hmm.
biggest thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm not a picky eater, but I won't eat this or that and this. And
Then you're
it's
left
like,
with
you got
you're
to make
left
some
with chips.
sacrifices. There's got to be a balance.
Yeah.
And it can be tough for some, especially now with COVID. I know a lot of them too, that like, they don't want to make trips to bigger grocery stores. And like, there's
Right.
just so many barriers to
Yeah.
getting it in. So
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like at a certain point when someone becomes fed up with either being too heavy or not being healthy or whatever they're going to be fed up with, they'll make the choices. But
yeah.
sometimes it's like if you're not quite at that point, it's like you always make little excuses for yourself, and
Mhm.
that can be kind of damaging. So, so
Yeah.
you said majority of your stuff is online, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if somebody wanted to reach out to you for like any kind of consultation or you have them have you take them on as a client, like what's the best way for them to reach out?
They can reach me on Instagram, Courtney Spaeth. Can send me a DM there or via email, cs_personal training@icloud.com. I'm working on branching out actually and partnering with a company, and we'll eventually have a website. I have an app that I use now. I'm working on switching everybody to a different one
Hmm.
for training, check-ins, all of that. So eventually there'll be a website as well, but I have not gone that route because I stay busy enough as it is without a
Yes.
website.
Of course, yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Like we've been trying to get together for like what, a few
Yeah.
weeks. Yes. But no, I completely get that. So, well, hey,
Yeah.
Courtney, thank you for coming on the show. We greatly
You're very
appreciate it.
welcome.
And I hope you enjoy your time in Mexico. Get a
Thank
good
you.
rest, you know,
Yes.
it's always needed. So,
Yes, it
and
is. Thank you for having me on and thank you for being patient to connect with
oh,
me.
oh no, absolutely. It's like when you were talking about taking care of your grandma, that kind of hit home because,
Mhm.
and we talked about that offline, but
Yeah.
that's something that like doesn't. I hate to say it, but it's not a common thing for people to take care
Mhm.
of their grandparents, maybe their parents, but you don't usually like hear of that. And that's so sweet of you to do that. So I thought
Yeah.
that was very nice. But
Yeah. She trumped, unfortunately, needing to go to Goodwill after her pimple pop
well,
escapade. She had to go to Goodwill and the dollar store. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, Grandma, we'll go.
yeah, Grandma calls the shots, right?
She did. She trumped you.
No worries. I don't mind. All right. Well, thank you again. And you have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.